Hey guys, it's Jim Fuge, and this is guitarbyjimi.com. And in today's free lesson, I'm going to walk you through how to play Get Back by the Beatles, song in 1969 out of the Let It Be sessions by Paul. And I think you'll find this lesson very interesting. Now, you know, I always say this, because I'm a big Beatle fan, but you never underestimate these guys, man. Even what sounds like a simple song is not. And maybe by the end of this lesson, you might be a little surprised, actually. So, but before I get into what John is playing on the lead break, because John does the solo, as you probably know, and if you didn't know that, well, now you do. Let me just talk about the song. And just, always with these guys, what sounds like a simple thing is like so much more complex dynamics going on than people realize. But that's the reason why the Beatles were geniuses. And as a band too, they make it kind of sound simple, but there's just really so much more complexity going on, even in what sounds like a jamming kind of song. So let's talk about like the band itself, right? So you have, and this is why they were such a great band too, because not everybody was doing the same thing. They were always doing different things and complementing each other really well. And like in this example, George is on his bridge pickup. And he's playing most of the time, but later he changes it up. He's, and I see a lot of people get this wrong, as well as John's lead break. So wait till you get to the lead break, then you're really going to be in shock. But I see people get this wrong. He's actually up-picking it. He's like, George was a man who thought he was alone. So it's up-picked. It's not down-picked. Okay? So that's the first little surprise. The second thing... and I'll get back to George in a minute. Let's talk about, John is doing some great riffing and also great lead playing. I'll get to that in a minute too. Paul is driving bass, as usual, playing the octaves and stuff, but, he holds it together, man. He's such a great bass player. He knows when to go off a bit. He knows when to keep it cool. And then last but not least, and I want to pay great homage to Ringo, because he's one of the best drummers who ever walked the face of the earth, in my opinion. I mean, he really is. Was and still is. If you listen to the Beatles really closely, and people say, he wasn't that good, he just happened to make it into the Beatles, I mean, it's really pretty ignorant. So you need to go back and listen to the songs and listen to how great of a drummer he was. Technically, too. I mean, he had great hands, really fast hands, and a really good foot, too. Listen to Good Morning, Good Morning. Listen to what he's doing on that. You'd be shocked. If you listen to the isolated drum track on that, what he's doing with his foot is pretty amazing, actually. And when you got guys like Neil Peart of Rush and John Bonham, guys who say that Ringo was one of the best, well, then it's got to make you think twice about him as a drummer. You know what I mean? If he's respected by guys who are unbelievable, then maybe it says something about him. But my point on Ringo was, as usual, he never just played a straight beat for a song. He just felt the song. I mean, just doing that is amazing. So he's not, he's kind of just doing kind of like a marching beat thing on the snare drum for the most part of the song, which fits the song perfectly, which is Ringo. I mean, just to be able to do that is a gift. I don't think a lot of drummers have that. I think Bonham had it too, even though he was a great technical drummer and could kick butt, you know what I mean, and all that. But he always fit the drums to the song. He really did. He was a classy drummer too. He always knew how to like lay back when he needed to and not be busy and play different things. He didn't always just do a regular beat, you know what I mean? So Ringo's the same way too. So, even though you take this for granted, if you listen back to all the Beatles songs, listen to what Ringo's doing and try and forget John, Paul, and George for a while. Just listen to what he came up with on every song. It's amazing. It's amazing. He was really a gifted drummer, and he just had a knack for it. So I have to pay some homage to Ringo because I just think it's necessary. Just another song that he did that was just, a unique drum beat. Not a simple, he could have always played a straight beat on this, but it wouldn't have fit. So let's get back to the two guitar parts. So George, like I said, is doing mostly an upbeat. But now, and he accents the GD. And he's on the bridge pickup, right? So now when John takes the lead break, he goes down to a down pick, actually. And this is really interesting as a band. He stops playing the chord and he just, if you listen to him, why does he do that? I mean, this is where the Beatles were such a great band. They knew how to complement each other because he wanted more space in that part and he wanted John's lead break to really stick out. And all you can really hear is that driving, those A octaves that Paul's doing, and it creates more space in that part in the lead break, and that's why John's solo sticks out a little bit more. You know, so if you listen to George's rhythm on the lead break, he's going, you know, except for, of course, but isn't that great? So little things like that. That's why these guys were such a great band. They knew how to complement each other. Okay, so now, before I get to the lead break and John's parts, still one more thing. The mystery chord. This is where the Beatles are not so simple. So, get back, A7? Right, it's A7, right? No, it's not A7. Well, yes it is. What do I mean? Well, if you ever listen to that chord really closely, there's something just not quite right about it. And you know what it is? You know what's not right about it? George is doing A7, but there's something still not quite right about it. You know why? Billy Preston is doing A minor 7th. Get back, get back. How about that? That's called polytonality, actually, and that's really complex and advanced. Like, this is what the composers in the 1500s used to do: take two chords and play them together. I mean, this is not something you do every day for a little silly song like Get Back. So it kind of creates the chord like an A7 sharp 9, i.e. the Hendrix chord, because you got the C note and the C sharp. Get back. But obviously it's not played like that. You got the C note is not so prominent, it's lower. So that's why when you listen back to it now, you say there's something not right about that chord. It's just not a straight A7, and this is why. You're mixing two chords at once. Beatles, genius. It's get back, get back. Amazing, right? So it kind of sounds like a 7 sharp 9, which is the Hendrix chord. So another little secret of this song. Again, what sounds like a simple song is really a lot more complexity going on behind the scenes. Now, talking about complexity, let's get to what John is doing. Again, more great complementary playing amongst all the Beatles, amongst themselves. So we have, so Get Back, you know, so John's doing something like this. He's sliding up, right? And then, so Get Back. So it's just kind of sliding up, C sharp in the major pentatonic, E, F sharp, A. Right? So a little A7 thing. Same thing. Sorry, he would be on the neck pickup, sorry. Same riff, even though it's a C sharp. Pretty cool, right? That's it. So what's funny about it is he keeps using the C sharp, even though the second, you know, on the other chord he's on a D7 with the C. So it's kind of funny, but it's cool. Cool choice of notes. So if you think about what the three of them are doing together, well, Paul's holding the bass up. Get back, George. Get back. Get back. It's kind of like one right after the other one. So it's great complementary playing. So again, it sounds great with the neck pickup, right? Right? So that's that. So again, great choice of little riffs in between. So now, let me just check my notes because I wrote some stuff down to make sure I don't forget anything. Oh yeah, right. Okay. The next thing is okay. We'll get to the whatchamacallit. We'll get to the actual lead break now. I think I covered everything. I just want to make sure. Yes. Okay. So the first thing on the lead break is there's actually some ghost notes in it. Okay. So when John starts off the lead break, he goes. So like that. But it sounds like sometimes to me or other people, you might hear an F sharp note, but there's no F sharp note there. So that's a ghost note. You know, again, this is like just great playing. It creates space, and it makes people's brains think they hear other notes. So this is the first thing. So anyway, there's no F sharp there. It's twice on the B. Okay, so bend up to the C sharp, E, come back down, then A, F sharp, A. Okay. Then, so F sharp, A, B, D. Okay, then you're going to move over to this position, to the 5th position. Then C, A, C. You're going to bend up to a C sharp, little bluesy there, and then by then George is going. Okay, and then you're going to do the lead break again. But now you're not going to bend it this time. Okay, so great. So what's this last riff? Right, that little riff over there? Okay, so I've never seen anybody get this right. And this is, you know why? I think because sometimes people assume the Beatles are easy, especially John as the guitar player, right? As the lead player for this song. Check this out. You know what he's actually doing? Okay, this is where the Beatles did everything first, like as usual. You know what I mean? Before Steve Vai or Joe Satriani or Paul Gilbert got into doing this stuff, he's string skipping. I mean, can you believe that? He's skipping strings. This is what he's doing. Okay, so you're going to bend up from an F sharp to a G. Okay, everybody gets this wrong. They just come backwards on the G. It's not what he's doing. He's doing this. Then he skips strings and goes to the D string to an A note. Then to a C note. Okay. Is that amazing or what? I mean, that's amazing. 1969, not even the lead guitar player of the group, but Lennon, skipping strings. And he does it the next time too, so, you know, it wasn't some fortunate accident. He did it on purpose. It's not that easy either. Get back. Right now you're into this part. And actually, okay, so that's that. So hopefully you got that. Just all down, up. Okay, now you're into Get Back, and there's no A7 by George here. So now you can really hear what I said earlier. You can really hear Billy Preston go, get back, get back. You can hear the A minor 7 clearly. So now, you know what I mean? So this time around, George is not hitting that A7, so you can really hear Billy Preston doing that A minor 7, okay? And then now you'll hear it. When the band all comes in later, you'll hear it with the A7. You'll say, my God, it's there. You know, it is really there. You know what I mean? So that's the first lead break. Let's see what else. Let's just make sure I don't forget anything. I get such bad handwriting. I can't even read my own handwriting. Okay. All right, so now we got John, let's see, the second verse, next time around chorus, get back, get back. Oh, by the way, I see a lot of people also play this wrong. Like I said before, it's always to A. Some people go, it's not, it's always to A. Okay, so, same thing. Okay, so now that's that. So now the second solo by John is kind of the same. Well, not really, but he mixes it up a little bit. He's doing kind of the same thing, but there is one extra thing that he does in this, and so the next solo is right, same thing, kind of, but a little more jumpier on some of the notes. Then he goes right into the string skipping thing, as you know. So again. He goes to a D note, and then he slides back up to the riff again. Okay, so one more time. Let me start it over again. You might want to use your middle finger so you can slide up. Okay, now you're going to bend up to the C sharp, but he grabs an E note. If you listen very closely, he grabs an E note twice. So, how cool is that? And that's on purpose, man. That wasn't an accident. So, but not loud. It's not like this. It's not loud. I am sure that was on purpose also. Just a little sneaking that E note in there twice. Now. Okay. Then you're going to go. You know, and I can't say definitively it's a C sharp note. It's just a bent note. It's between C and C sharp. It's close to the C sharp. You know, kind of. Because you know what? He's keeping the blues at the C note. Maybe towards the end he gets closer to a C sharp note, but it's kind of between the two. It's kind of a bluesy thing, you know what I mean? So that, you know, and then he goes. Okay, he does a little extra thing. Okay, and then that's it. So that's where, you know, I mean, you got all these little surprises. And, you know, another thing too, you know, George is on the bridge pickup, but John's on the neck pickup. Creates a different texture right there. Different sound, right? One guy is treblier, one guy is bassier. It creates a totally different, nice complementary thing, right? So just even being on different pickups is like smart. So again, you know, I see a lot of people get this wrong. George is not doing downbeats. He's doing upbeats. For the most part of the song. Sometimes in the latter part of the song he goes to downbeats, but on the lead breaks he definitely goes to downbeats. Isn't that weird? And he goes like this. You maybe hear something in between, but it's mostly clickety click. It's not even like notes, believe it or not. Now listen back to it. You notice how, like, when the solo comes in, kind of things drop out, and you can really hear John's solo. That's why, because George is dropping out. Brilliant. These guys were brilliant. Space is very important in music too. Space is equally as important as playing. Something Deep Purple was great at too. So things like that, these are the pros, man. Space is important. So this is where George and all the Beatles were great musicians. So that's the first kind of funny thing. The second thing again is A7. But Billy Preston's playing A minor 7. Just another example where you can never take these guys for granted. So let's do John's part. You're going to slide into that C sharp. Same thing. Get back. Get back. Get back, Jojo. So let's do the lead break. We'll do it slow. Down, down. Get back. Get back. Great, right? So second time around, I'll do it fast for you too. The second time around. Yeah, that E note, amazing. Okay, so up to speed, you know, and this string skipping thing is not that easy, man, to do it perfectly. Great, huh? Forgot to get the E, sorry. Okay. It's hard to get that in just a little bit. Beatles, how could you beat these guys? They were great. So that is Get Back, which seems like a simple song by these guys. As usual, there's so much complexity. That's what I wanted. That's probably the main point I want to drive out with the Beatles. Don't ever take these guys for granted. They have so much musical complexity, even in what could sound like the simplest of songs. I mean, these guys are just on another level, man. You know, people are figuring this stuff out 40 years later. I mean, you know, these guys are just brilliant musicians, geniuses, everything. String skipping. Long before Steve Vai and Joe Satriani and Paul Gilbert and all those guys started doing string skipping. John Lennon, the guy who's not even the lead guitar player of the Beatles, was doing it. How about that? I mean, is that amazing or what? And by the way, since this is Guitar by Jimmy, this is really the right way to play this song. I want to point all these things out. That's why, you know, I try to be different. And when I tell you it's off the record, I really go through a lot of trouble to make sure it's off the record before I teach it to you. So, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson as much as I have enjoyed teaching it to you. You know, I love talking about the Beatles, as you can see. By all means, you know, send me your comments. I love these comments, especially with Beatles stuff related in guitar. And if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. and share it with your friends or a million people or whoever. And, you know, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. And I'm Jim Fuge. This is guitarbyjimi.com, and I'll see you guys on the next lesson. Okay, thanks, guys. Rock on.